I'm shutting down this illegal New Year's celebration, and anyone who shows up will be arrested and fined. That's what CHACHA Mustafa, president of the neighborhood association, screamed while storming through our streets with a stack of official-looking warning notices. Fireworks popped in the distance as the last days of 2025 ticked away, but she was trying to cancel New Year itself. For 16 straight years, our neighborhood welcomed the new year together. Music, countdowns, shared food, kids waving sparklers at midnight. But CHACHA Mustafa decided this would be the year it all ended. Yesterday, she threatened every family with $700 penalties. Today, she blocked planning meetings, called police on teenagers rehearsing countdown songs, and ranted about undesirable gatherings ruining her perfectly controlled subdivision. The crunch of winter gravel under her boots echoed through the icy night air that should have smelled like street food and fireworks smoke. Instead, it carried the sharp stench of her anger and desperation. This woman had terrorized 52 families for months. What she didn't know was exactly who had been quietly watching her power trip from the corner house with the blue porch light. Where would you watch from? What would you do if someone tried to steal New Year from your kids? 3 days earlier, I was drinking my wife Lena's tea and scrolling through early morning government emails when another complaint popped up. Subject line: criminal activity, illegal neighborhood gatherings. The complainant demanded immediate investigation into organized New Year celebrations, causing property devaluation and moral decline. The signature read, CHACHA Mustafa, President. The address, she reported? My own street. I nearly spilled tea across my tablet. For 6 months, this woman had been filing official complaints with my office, begging authorities to crack down on my neighbors, completely unaware she was reporting directly to the man she was targeting. She had no clue who lived behind that quiet blue porch light. Here's the part she didn't know. My name is Ayan Malik. I've been mayor of Brookside Ridge for almost 2 years. Former legal advisor, former council member, now elected mayor of a town just over 14,000 people. 2 years ago, Lena and I moved here with our twin boys, Sami and Ryan. They were 7 then, obsessed with fireworks safety videos, and convinced every neighbor's cat belonged to them. After years of public life, I wanted normal, quiet, anonymous. My neighbors knew I worked downtown. That was it. Strategic anonymity, peaceful suburb. Then CHACHA Mustafa arrived like a storm. Imagine a retired compliance officer mixed with a prison supervisor. 8 years clinging to leadership because fear keeps opposition silent. Freshly retired from a bureaucratic nightmare job, now ruling our block like a private kingdom. She didn't argue, she documented. She didn't debate, she fined. Paperwork was her weapon, and she swung it daily. It started small, like it always does. Outdoor lights labeled visual pollution, children's chalk countdown numbers called property defacement, lanterns, unauthorized installations. Each notice came with penalties and threats thick enough to make lawyers sweat. The smell of fresh printer ink mixed with fear on every doorstep. Families pulled their kids inside. Elderly neighbors stopped decorating. One family considered moving because their cultural New Year banner violated uniform display standards. But canceling the New Year celebration, that was her fatal mistake. She had absolutely zero legal authority to enforce anything, and chances were high she didn't even know it. The lesson couldn't have been clearer. Always demand to see current incorporation documents before paying a single fine to CHACHA Mustafa or anyone like her. Most residents never check whether a neighborhood board actually exists in the eyes of the law. I filed an anonymous complaint with the state registrar's office. Then I got a little creative. At exactly 2 a.m., dressed in a hoodie like some sleep-deprived suburban vigilante, I printed copies of state association licensing requirements. I highlighted the sections explaining valid registration, expired authority, and personal liability. Then I quietly visited every mailbox on our street. No signature, no return address, just publicly available legal facts about how neighborhood boards are supposed to operate in 2025. The irony landed Tuesday morning like a firework exploding at midnight. A certified state investigation notice arrived at Chacha Mustafa's house the same day neighbors found legal ammunition in their mailboxes. I watched from my kitchen window as she signed for the letter with her usual commanding posture. Then I saw it. Her shoulders stiffened, her face drained, her confidence evaporated line by line as she read. 20 minutes later, she was pacing her driveway, speed dialing her lawyer, while group chats across the neighborhood exploded with screenshots of highlighted paragraphs titled Unlawful Operation and Invalid Authority. She had triggered a full state investigation into her own operation and still thought it was coincidence. By noon, Chacha Mustafa announced an emergency leadership meeting scheduled for Thursday night. Pure panic, the move of someone watching their control slip through frozen fingers. But what truly ignited me was watching our community change. Mrs. Patterson, 73 years old, retired teacher, 40 years of classroom command, opened her living room for a legal research group. At Wednesday's garage gathering, coffee steam mixed with determination as she declared, if she wants to play lawyer, we'll play it better. The Kowalski garage became our strategy hub. Tom Rodriguez and 3 other veterans organized documentation teams. Every interaction with Chacha Mustafa would be recorded, dated, witnessed, and archived. These were people who had faced real threats. They weren't scared of a clipboard tyrant fueled by expired authority. That same week, my 8-year-old sons came home asking why New Year felt tense instead of exciting. Sami looked up at me and asked, Baba, why can't we practice the countdown outside anymore? That question hit harder than any fine notice ever could. Kids shouldn't feel fear in their own streets, ever. Chacha Mustafa's reaction to the investigation exposed her true nature, desperation wearing a mask of power. She hired an attorney without board approval and charged the neighborhood account. Then she threatened foreclosure on 3 homes over accumulated violations. Cameras appeared overnight aimed directly at the Kowalski house. Not subtle, just raw intimidation. Thursday night, instead of attending her emergency meeting, all 52 families gathered in the Kowalski backyard to plan the New Year celebration. Kids practiced countdown chants. Parents coordinated food, lights, and safety plans. Their laughter floated through cold winter air, meant for hope, not fear. Across the street, Chacha Mustafa stood behind her window with binoculars, scribbling notes like she was documenting organized crime, not families preparing to welcome 2026 together. Friday morning delivered yet another paranoid message to my mayoral inbox. Subject: Immediate investigation required, illegal neighborhood conspiracy against lawful authority. She was literally demanding that I investigate my own neighbors for resisting her illegal harassment. Line by line, Chacha Mustafa was constructing a criminal case against herself, one delusional email at a time. Game on, Chacha Mustafa. You chose the wrong neighborhood. Her next move proved she'd completely lost touch with reality. Monday morning, every household received another certified letter. This one demanded an emergency $400 neighborhood assessment, earmarked specifically for her legal defense fund. 30 days to pay or face property liens. She was forcing families to finance her personal war against our New Year celebration. But Wednesday morning, she crossed into something darker. Lena shook me awake before sunrise. Ayan, something's wrong outside. The streetlights were dead. The mailbox cluster at the subdivision entrance had been locked with brand new hardware. Families wandered the dark streets in coats and slippers, confused and angry. Chacha Mustafa had shut down shared utilities. Elderly residents were walking blocks to the post office just to collect medication notices. She'd declared economic warfare on her own community. Thursday morning, while reviewing routine city budget reports in my office, something set off my legal instincts. Her assessment letter claimed CHACHA Mustafa's authority covered snow removal, road maintenance, and lighting, but city records on my screen showed the city already provided all those services under standard agreements. She'd been double billing residents for years. Back in law school, I'd studied municipal finance fraud cases. When duplicate billing is accidental, it's incompetence. When it's systematic, deliberate, and hidden, it's embezzlement. Given her pattern, I knew exactly which category applied. Digging deeper using my mayoral access, I found the smoking gun. Families were paying monthly fees for snow removal and street upkeep that the city provided for free. 2 years of theft totaled nearly $18,000, not counting kickbacks from fake vendors. Lesson of the year: always verify on your city's website what your property taxes already cover before paying duplicate neighborhood fees. That afternoon, I made 2 strategic calls: an anonymous tip to Channel 9 about possible neighborhood finance crimes, and a public records request filed under my own name as a concerned citizen. Friday evening, Channel 9 delivered justice on primetime news. Neighborhood board double billing scandal flashed across screens as residents stood stunned holding assessment letters. Contracts, bank records, and city agreements proved everything. By Saturday morning, our quiet subdivision was viral, a national symbol of abuse masquerading as authority. Here's where karma twisted the knife. Instead of retreating, CHACHA Mustafa snapped. Sunday, she hired a private investigator, some bottom-feeding opportunist, who began stalking families. He showed up at kids' sports games, photographed license plates during meetings, questioned our mail carrier about suspicious deliveries. Monday morning, watching this creep photograph my sons at the school bus stop, rage flooded my chest. This was no longer a neighborhood dispute. This was criminal harassment of children. Tuesday brought her most reckless mistake yet: attempted bribery. My building inspector called me, laughing in disbelief. "Boss, some woman just offered me cash to fabricate violations, promised promotions if I helped frame families." She just confessed to bribery to my employee while claiming connections to city leadership. Charges were filed that afternoon. The community response exploded. Our resistance group doubled overnight, pulling in nearby neighborhoods facing similar abuse. Mrs. Patterson's living room became command central. Coffee, legal textbooks, determination thick in the air. Veterans organized escort teams for elderly residents. Local business owners offered meeting spaces after CHACHA Mustafa began photographing everyone entering private homes. Wednesday's Channel 9 follow-up destroyed what remained of her credibility. Reporters uncovered her entire kickback network, payments from vendors for services never performed. The conclusion was devastating. Residents had been paying twice for the same services, while leadership allegedly pocketed the difference. That night, her house sat dark except for one pacing silhouette behind a window. Friday morning, she made her final pre-collapse error, threatening families with lawsuits for defamation if they didn't retract public statements. She'd just intimidated witnesses in an active investigation. Time for the mayor to stop watching. But CHACHA Mustafa wasn't done. She launched what she called emergency compliance inspections. Professional-looking crews invaded homes during work hours, photographing minor imperfections, issuing instant fines. Parents rushed home to violation notices demanding payment. Then came the call from Mrs. Patterson, voice shaking. "They photographed my late husband's tools," she whispered, "called them violations. I haven't moved them since he passed." That was it. Her desperation backfired. Every fake inspection triggered automatic city reports. By Wednesday, my department was drowning in fraudulent emergencies. That pattern flipped her harassment into felony territory: systematic obstruction and fraud. Thursday evening, CHACHA Mustafa demanded an emergency city council hearing. She arrived armed with slides accusing outside agitators. I sat stone-faced as she unknowingly presented evidence directly to me, including surveillance photos of my children. That moment changed everything. The New Year countdown was approaching, and CHACHA Mustafa had just ensured her downfall would be public. This woman had mortgaged our children's playground to finance her harassment of our children's friends and planned to blame us when foreclosure finally hit. The weight of violated trust, stolen safety, and systematic community destruction settled over us like winter cold leaking through cracked windows. So when do you end it? That question had consumed me for days. End it early, and she slips away quietly. Maybe a negotiated resignation, a closed-door settlement, her name fading into paperwork. But justice demanded something else. It demanded witnesses, accountability, truth in the open. New Year's Eve, December 31st. Right there in the Kowalski backyard, surrounded by every family she'd terrorized, with cameras rolling when she finally realized exactly who she'd been fighting all along. The scent of pine and fireworks in waiting, mixed with the anticipation of overdue justice. CHACHA Mustafa believed she was crushing helpless families. Time to show her what happens when predators choose the wrong prey. Monday morning, I walked into City Hall with strategic satisfaction coating my tongue like perfectly brewed coffee. It was time to orchestrate the cleanest takedown this city had ever seen. First stop, City Attorney Rebecca Martinez's office. The smell of legal briefs and fresh toner filled the air. Rebecca, I need neighborhood dissolution papers, state fraud charges, and federal civil rights documentation, I said calmly. Delivery time, December 31st, 11:30 p.m., Kowalski backyard. Her pen froze mid-signature. Public venue? She's spent 6 months asking me to investigate myself for protecting my neighbors from her illegal campaign. She deserves to learn what real authority looks like, with witnesses. Tuesday became a legal arms buildup that would have made prosecutors smile. Dissolution filings citing systemic governance violations, state fraud charges backed by mortgage documents and embezzlement records, federal conspiracy charges supported by harassment logs, mail fraud evidence, and civil rights violations across multiple families. But the masterstroke was timing. State investigation findings scheduled to release at 10:45 p.m. on New Year's Eve, FBI Financial Crimes Unit staged nearby, postal inspectors ready with mail fraud warrants, IRS agents prepped asset seizure orders. Her entire operation would collapse in real time while families counted down to 2026. Wednesday night, the Kowalski garage smelled of motor oil, sawdust, and determination. I laid out the plan with military precision. Everyone gets assignments, documentation teams, witness coordination, security protocols. This isn't just about a party. This is about proving that communities can dismantle tyrants. Mrs. Patterson led documentation. Every family received tasks, log setups, document interactions, document harassment. Tom Rodriguez's veteran network handled perimeter security like a protective detail. 6 professional cameras were positioned, legal observers assigned, evidence custody protocols established. Here is a detail most people miss. When challenging CHACHA Mustafa publicly, you must have current registration documents, bank records, and minute meetings for at least 2 years. Corruption reveals itself through paper trails. New Year's permits were obtained through proper city channels, expedited, yes, but fully compliant. Police were invited as guests through Chief Patterson's office. Local media was tipped with a heartwarming community resilience angle, unaware they were walking into historic accountability. Thursday brought family safety briefings. Lena coordinated protective protocols. Our boys, bouncing with excitement about this surprise, understood they were proof that fear had lost its grip. Friday afternoon, I caught myself rehearsing timing with a stopwatch like a stage director. Ma'am, I'm Ayan Malik, and I'm exactly who you're looking for. Pause. I'm the mayor, and I've been documenting your crimes for 6 months. Saturday evening, I walked the neighborhood one last time. Cold air, twinkling lights she'd tried to criminalize, laughter echoing where silence once ruled. Every document ready, every agency aligned. Sunday morning delivered her final unhinged complaint, a formal request for federal intervention against organized criminal activity disguised as New Year celebration. She'd asked federal agents to investigate countdown chants and shared food, while those same agents finalized her arrest paperwork. Monday afternoon, December 31st, watching setup crews move with surgical efficiency, I felt justice drawing breath. In hours, CHACHA MUSTAFA would learn that authority used to protect people hits far harder than authority used to terrorize them. But she wasn't finished. That morning, over pancakes and coffee, Jake Morrison called, voice shaking with fury. "Boss, she just offered me cash to condemn the Kowalski house before tonight, promised promotion if I fabricated violations." Recorded, audio, video, timestamped. Felony bribery, federal-grade evidence. Then she escalated again, calling employers, accusing families of criminal conspiracies, HR departments panicked, careers threatened. I spent hours undoing her lies. And then came the twist. Tuesday afternoon, I noticed a black sedan following my mayoral vehicle. She'd hired another investigator, this one watching me. CHACHA MUSTAFA thought surveillance would save her. She had no idea it was sealing her fate. The irony was almost poetic. The private investigator had no idea he was tailing the mayor, hired by the same woman who'd spent months emailing city offices demanding that the mayor investigate suspicious activity in the mayor's own neighborhood. Wednesday evening marked CHACHA MUSTAFA's most vicious escalation yet: direct threats against children. Mrs. Patterson discovered a typed note in her mailbox that made my blood run cold. Elderly residents enabling children's New Year disturbances will face elder abuse investigations. Seniors corrupting minors for criminal behavior belong in state facilities. She'd threatened a 73-year-old widow with forced institutionalization for letting neighborhood kids visit her home. That was the moment protective fury turned into absolute certainty. She had crossed into guaranteed federal prosecution territory. Thursday morning, December 31st, she attempted her final sabotage. At 10 a.m., CHACHA MUSTAFA physically blocked the catering van in the Kowalski driveway, arms spread wide like a deranged traffic officer. When Maria Santos arrived with trays of New Year sweets, CHACHA MUSTAFA screamed about illegal commercial conspiracy and threatened a citizen's arrest on the delivery driver. Phone footage of her attacking a dessert delivery went viral within hours. Hashtag New Year Karen trended nationally as social media rallied behind families resisting neighborhood tyranny. The most beautiful moment came at 1 p.m. Unmarked FBI vehicles arrived quietly to position agents for evening surveillance and arrest procedures. I watched from my kitchen window as CHACHA MUSTAFA spotted the cars and practically danced with triumph. At 1:30, my phone rang. "Mr. Mayor, this is CHACHA MUSTAFA. The federal agents I requested have arrived to arrest the neighborhood criminals. Justice is finally being served." Her voice brimmed with victory. She was celebrating her own arrest team's arrival. "I'm sure justice will be served tonight," I replied calmly. "These criminals picked the wrong neighborhood," she said proudly. "When this is over, property values will soar and decent families will feel safe again." I hung up as manic laughter echoed through the line. The woman who'd spent 6 months asking me to investigate myself was now thanking me for sending federal agents, at her request, to arrest her. Cold evening air carried the scent of fireworks waiting to be lit. 3 hours until the New Year celebration. 3 hours until CHACHA MUSTAFA learned the difference between intimidation and real authority. At 2 p.m., she launched her final desperate assault. She stationed herself at the subdivision entrance behind a folding table, clipboard in hand, homemade signs reading, "Criminal activity in progress, protect property values." Like a delusional checkpoint guard, she interrogated every delivery truck, guest car, and neighbor. Then she flagged down the Channel 9 news van. "We're here to cover the New Year celebration," reporter Amanda Palmer said carefully. "Perfect," CHACHA MUSTAFA screamed. "You can document the criminal conspiracy I've been fighting for months." She was dismantling herself on live television. At 2:30, police cruisers arrived for routine celebration security, coordinated quietly with the chief. CHACHA Mustafa sprinted between the cars, screaming about backup finally arriving to arrest criminals. "Ma'am," Officer Martinez said gently, "are you experiencing an emergency?" "Yes, you're here to arrest them. The mayor sent you." The officers exchanged the look cops reserve for unstable civilians. "We're here to ensure a safe New Year celebration." Her voice cracked. No, you're supposed to arrest them." That's when realization hit her. Law enforcement wasn't there for her, they were there to protect families from her. By 3 p.m., the Kowalski backyard ballooned into New Year magic. Warm lights strung between bare oak branches glowed against the winter sky. Kids laughed, music played, the scent of spiced drinks and fireworks powder filled the air. But CHACHA Mustafa's breakdown intensified. She physically blocked families. She screamed at Mrs. Patterson for illegal food distribution. She accused Tom Rodriguez of corrupting minors by bringing his grandchildren. Every camera was rolling, and every step she took brought her closer to the end. The Palmer family was threatened with immigration compliance investigations for bringing culturally inappropriate New Year decorations that allegedly violated American community standards. Every confrontation was captured by news cameras, phones, and FBI surveillance equipment discreetly positioned throughout the area. CHACHA Mustafa was building federal civil rights evidence in real time while national television broadcast her systematic harassment of families celebrating the New Year. At 3:30 p.m., Channel 9 began live streaming New Year's celebration under siege. Within minutes, thousands of viewers flooded the feed, comments exploding in support of families standing up to CHACHA Mustafa tyranny. Then came the moment that shattered every remaining boundary. She spotted my daughters walking toward the celebration with Sarah. "There," she screamed, pointing wildly, "those are the children of the criminal mastermind." She yelled at police officers, pointing directly at Emma and Grace. "Arrest them for conspiracy. Their father is the ringleader destroying this community." The cold evening air froze. 47 families, police officers, reporters, and federal agents stood in silence as this woman demanded the arrest of 8-year-old girls for attending a New Year party. Officer Martinez stepped forward, his voice firm. "Ma'am, step away from those children immediately." "But they're criminals. Their father—" "Threatening children is a crime. Step back now." That was the moment I knew. Everything was set. Cameras rolling, officers present, federal agents ready, families gathered to witness justice. CHACHA Mustafa stood at the center, demanding my daughter's arrest, unaware their father was about to step forward. At exactly 4 p.m., as the winter sunset painted the sky behind glowing New Year lights and countdown music began softly in the background, I walked out of my house in casual clothes, calm and deliberate. I'd been playing chess while she played checkers. At 4:15, I entered the Kowalski backyard. Lights shimmered overhead like stars celebrating justice. Nearly 200 people had gathered, neighbors, extended family, supporters from other neighborhoods dealing with CHACHA Mustafa abuse, and live media broadcasting nationwide. Children laughed near the hot chocolate station. Parents shared stories of survival and unity. But CHACHA Mustafa wasn't done. She stormed into the party, wielding a megaphone and a stack of fake legal documents. Her boots crunched across frosted grass as she positioned herself in front of the cameras. "Attention criminals," her amplified voice shattered the night. "This illegal gathering ends now. I demand immediate arrests for trespassing, disturbing the peace, and conspiracy to destroy property values." Police officers stood calmly nearby. No one stopped the celebration. "I have legal authority," she screamed, waving expired CHACHA Mustafa papers like shields. "I demand to speak to whoever thinks they're in charge of this pathetic city." Children kept laughing. Families kept celebrating. Only law enforcement and cameras paid attention as she unraveled. Then she made her fatal mistake. "Where is the mayor?" she screamed. "I demand the mayor come here immediately. I have influence. I control this neighborhood." 200 people went silent. I stepped forward through the crowd. "Ma'am," I said evenly, "I'm Ethan Wellington. I'm exactly who you want to speak to." She squinted at me. "I don't speak to random criminals. I demanded the mayor." "I am the mayor." Silence. Cameras zoomed, agents shifted, officers stepped closer. Her face cycled through disbelief, confusion, recognition, then horror. "You're lying," she whispered. I presented my mayoral identification. "For 6 months, you filed complaints demanding I investigate myself for protecting my neighbors from your illegal harassment." Her megaphone dropped. "Every threat you sent was evidence. Every fake fine documented fraud. Every demand for arrests proved systematic civil rights violations." Color drained from her face. "You committed federal crimes while asking me to prosecute your victims." Behind me, Mrs. Patterson whispered, "Sweet justice." The city attorney stepped forward with documents. "By emergency order, CHACHA MUSTAFA operations in Oak Ridge Estates are hereby dissolved for fraud, harassment, and criminal misconduct." FBI agent Sarah Palmer stepped forward with handcuffs. "CHACHA MUSTAFA, you are under arrest." "This is impossible," she sobbed. "I had authority." "No," I said quietly, "you had paperwork. Real authority protects people." As agents led her away, the sound of children counting down to the new year echoed through the night. Lights twinkled in trees she'd tried to ban. Families embraced in yards she'd tried to control. The broadcast captured it all, a community victorious and a tyrant leaving in handcuffs. Applause erupted, not for me, but for unity. By New Year's Day 2026, our story went national. CNN featured it. Newspapers praised community resistance. Other neighborhoods began dismantling abusive CHACHA MUSTAFA systems of their own. 6 weeks later, we formed the Oak Ridge Community Association. Voluntary, democratic, transparent. Property values rose. Trust returned. The real healing came quietly. Coffee mornings, kids riding bikes, gardens planted where fear once lived. Her fate was fitting: probation, restitution, and exile from power. Her house sold to repay victims. Her name became a cautionary tale. New laws followed, protections expanded, communities learned. Months later, walking through our neighborhood on a warm June evening, I heard laughter instead of threats, smelled barbecues instead of fear. Real power isn't about control. It's about protecting the freedom to live together.